Square's pitch deck is one of the most interesting pitch decks to look at that's available on the internet. Now the question is, what can we learn from Square's pitch deck and what lessons can we take from it and apply to our pitch deck? I've raised over $100 million in venture capital and private equity funding, and I've helped many entrepreneurs just like you raise rounds of between $50,000 and $150 million. I've been around a lot of fundraisings, and I know what works and I know what doesn't work. In today's video, we're going to go through slide by slide Square's pitch deck. We're going to look at what they did right, and we're going to look at what they did wrong, because we can learn from both examples. So let's get started. Okay, we're going to go through the cover slide last. Let's start with the first slide, which we have up here right now. You can see it says the Square proposition. This is their executive summary. Remember this. The first slide, the executive summary, is supposed to hook the investors and do two things. The first is explain the problem that you're going to solve. And the second is, how will you solve this problem? Now, when we look at this particular slide, how do you think it does on these things? Because, whoa, there's a lot going on here. The slide is never really explains the problem they're trying to solve. Who's the customer? They don't talk about it. Why is this a problem? They don't talk about that. How do they solve it? Well, they kind of show this here at the right. You can see this simple pricing, blah, blah, and all that kind of stuff. But they really don't go into it. Instead, the deck talks about other things. They don't really go into this. Talk about the management team, high ROI, high future valuation, all this type of stuff. This, quite frankly, is really bad. They could have made this so much easier to sell, and yet they didn't. Now, why is this? Because when you think about this, that just shouldn't be. I mean, this is an experienced team. Why is this? What do you think the reason is that this deck, at least the first slide, is so bad? Tell me your thoughts in the comments column. I'd really love to know. If you're not already a subscriber, then hit the subscribe button right now, and you'll be notified every time I introduce a new video. Okay, now let's move on to the management team. Now the goal here, when we do a management team slide, is to succinctly introduce your team to investors and show that you have the team to pull off what you're planning on doing. Now, from an experience factor here, there's no issue. I mean, you look at the resume here of these people, Jack Dorsey, Keith Rabois, if that's how you pronounce his name. Sorry, Keith, if I pronounced it bad. Bob Lee. These are experienced people from well-known companies. And the bios, the bullet points here, as you can see here, these are pretty good. This is pretty reasonably well done. This stuff over here is totally unnecessary because guess what? There's no new information over here. It just clutters things up. You don't need to show who your advisors are. Yes, there are some well-known names here, but you know what? It's irrelevant. The management team is what sells. Now, this is also a little clunky here too. Look at these pictures. Why aren't the pictures the same for each one on the team? Why are they different? Why aren't they consistent? It's yet another mistake from a team you wouldn't expect to have these types of mistakes. This is just way too sloppy for somebody like Jack Dorsey to do. Now, why do you think this is going on here? I really want to know, because this is 2 slides in a row now that just aren't really that good. What do you think the reason is? Let me know in the comments column. If this content is resonating with you, then hit that like button right now. Okay, now let's move on to the market slide. The goal of this particular slide is to explain how big the opportunity is and what segments you're going after. Well, on the first piece, they did a reasonable job here, right? I mean, this is a huge opportunity. This is in billions. I prefer to see billions over here on the axis, but this is fine. They're showing this huge opportunity. And they kind of talk about mobile payments here. So I can kind of guess it's about mobile payments. So they do a good job of explaining this, or at least reasonably good. But Now the question is this stuff on the bottom. Why does it need to be here? It just clutters things up. I don't need to know this. This is all about the market, the size of the market. I don't need to know the rest of this stuff. The opportunity, the market changes, the positioning. It's multiple messages. Remember this. One slide, one message. Again, this kind of reads like a bad business school project here. What's going on? If you think you know the answer, let me know in the comments column. I want to hear from you because this is just not that good, quite frankly. And somebody with the experience of Jack Dorsey knows better than this. So let's move on to the next slide on our list here, which is slide number 4. And remember here, we're getting a good education on what to do because we can learn from what not to do here. So let's move on to the next slide. It's the product slide. Now, what's the goal here? Typically, what you would do on a slide like this is you explain how your product works. And you would give me kind of the secret sauce, what's unique, what's differentiated about your product. This doesn't do it. Look at that stupid title. Square satisfies buyers and vendors through an easy to adopt platform. No, there's no value in that. There's no utility in that. It's not helping investors. It doesn't teach investors anything. The rest of this is customers' desires, vendor desires, a stupid picture of the reader, you know, what it does. But it really doesn't tell me what the secret is, why this is so much better than everything else out there. This is a wasted opportunity. Not well done. And then giving a rundown of the technology used and definitions. This is really basic and not well done. Okay, this is the 4th slide we've looked at, the 4th mistake. What is going on? Let me know in the comments column. I want to hear your thoughts. Okay, so let's move on to this slide. The next slide on our list, value to user. Now this appears to kind of be a competitive comparison of some sort. That's kind of what I get out of this. It's kind of clunkily done yet again. They've got a selling point here about it being simple and the most compelling way to accept credit cards. Okay, fine, I'll go with that. They talk about ease of use, costs, and benefits. And they're saying, hey, look, we have advantages versus both sets of competitors. Okay, this is reasonable. Of all the slides in the deck so far, I would say this one is probably the best of the bunch that we've seen so far. It's reasonable, no multiple messages. I can kind of get it. So, okay, I'll buy it. This one's okay. Let's move on to the next slide on our list. Customer acquisition. This is as bad as it gets. Oh man, so many mistakes. Look at the title. Through wide exposure, Square targets anyone that seeks easy payment. No. Have a focus. Tell us what your focus is. And then they go on to say, okay, here are our target customers, and they break it down a little bit. But that's not the purpose of this slide. The purpose of the customer acquisition slide is to tell us, the audience, how you're going to market to your prospective customers. That's the goal here. Tell us what you're going to do. Tell us how you're going to market to these customers. And that just quite frankly isn't done. You talk about selling points. They've got some basic stuff about advertising and maybe retail and Apple stores and all this stuff. And then they have a picture of Apple on the right. And they're saying, hey, look, we're acquiring 100,000 customers per month. Well, let's say at this point in time, Square was acquiring 100,000 customers per month. Maybe tell us how you're doing it. That would be the place to start. And then tell us how you're going to grow from 100,000 to 1 million customers a month or whatever your goals are. And if you need to change that strategy and why. This slide completely fails at all those things. Again, why? Why is this so bad? I'm curious as to your thoughts. What do you think the reason is that this is so bad? Let me know in the comments column. Okay, now we move on to the next slide, which is competition. So they have a competition slide, and it's kind of funny because they kind of did this in that previous slide I was talking about, you know, where they divided it up. So they're just really, it's disjointed, it's not well done. And now they break it up in a little bit more detail here. They talk about these two companies, the direct competitors, and the emerging near-field communications companies, Apple and Google, with Apple Pay and Google Pay that were coming at this particular time. And they talk about the characteristics and advantages. Okay, that's all well and good, but what about the disadvantages? You always have disadvantages. There are always disadvantages to your technology. What are they? How are you going to defeat these guys? Don't really explain it very well. So yet again, another fail. Why is this? What's going on here? Now, we're going to get to the next slide here, slide number 8 on our list. This is the financial model and projections right now. And oh dear, so many massive mistakes that I do not want you to make. Let me point them all out to you. Here's the first one, right here. Square will make a lucrative investment, even with conservative projections. Don't, first of all, you never, ever, ever talk about this, that you're going to make a lucrative investment. Why? You're venturing into the investor's domain. Stay away from it. It doesn't buy you anything. It just makes you look like an amateur. And then the second thing, the conservative projections. Don't say your projections are conservative. Yet again, another basic mistake, because investors are going to always give you a haircut with whatever you tell them. So if you tell them it's conservative, they're not going to believe you. It's just not well done. Now, the financial piece here, this piece, the income statement-ish kind of piece with this payment process, this is actually reasonable. Okay, they're giving you 5-year projections, but what about history? 2010, Square existed. Tell me the history. What was happening here? Now, this stuff at the bottom, again, big no-nos here. You just don't do this. The assumptions, hurdle rates, the stake, the IRR, all this kind of stuff, a best case, a base case, a worst case. Never, ever, ever do this in a pitch deck. Ever. You look bad. This is just not what you do. This is what investors do. Investors will come up with a best case, a base case, and a worst case. Don't venture into their world. Do not tell them what the hurdle rate's going to be. Do not tell them what the IRR is going to be, or what a sale is going to be at 2015 revenue or an IPO. Don't do that. Ever. You look bad when you do this kind of stuff. So this is horrifically bad, and now it's going to get worse. But yet again, I want to know, why do you think this is so bad? Why invest now? Oh dear. Just when we thought it couldn't get worse, it got worse. Oh my goodness. Now, again, this headline here, or subheadline, whatever we want to call it, just don't do this. Additional investment will generate outside returns due to growth prospects. Don't tell me as the investor what the returns are going to be. Focus on your execution. This is just really bad. And then the stuff over here on the left, this just isn't really good. If you're going to do a summary slide, which this is kind of purporting to be, then summarize and repeat the message in your executive summary. This just doesn't do it. So this is just like horrifically bad. And then the high potential for growth, ugh. You know, just, come on guys, this is just really bad. The graphic down here at the bottom doesn't add anything. It's stupid. You know, then they have this additional stuff about Sequoia Capital with a star to it. Where's the star relating to? And this is dollars. $10, $27. I know this is millions, but come on, this is amateurish. Really, really bad. Now it gets even worse, if we can believe it. The exit strategy slide. What were they thinking? Again, like I said previously, do not venture into the world of your investors. They know better than you what the potential exit for your company is. Do not go there with investors. And if you're ever asked what the exit strategy is for your business, understand this. It is a trap. They do not want you focused on exit strategies when you're raising money. They want you focused on growing the business. So yes, tell them that. Say, I'm focused on running the company, not on exits. That's the right answer. Okay, so the question of why is this so bad when you have such experienced entrepreneurs doing a slide deck? Why is this so bad? Well, the answer is really simple. The answer is this, right here. It wasn't done by Square. This slide deck and there are other decks purporting to be from successful companies that are on the internet were done by students. These are students, I believe at UC Berkeley. These were UC Berkeley students who followed a model that their professor taught them, and their professor should be shot, quite frankly. This is horrific. This is just really, really bad. That's why this is so bad. But you know what? Here's what we can all learn from this. I've seen entrepreneurs produce worse decks than this. It happens all the time. So we can all learn even from a student deck, because this is what most first decks look like, is like this. And then people get religion, then people start learning how to make them better. So I hope you learned a lot from today's video. And I'd like to know your thoughts on what you learned. Put them in the comments column below today's video. Okay, I have one more thing for you. It's a free startup pitch deck. It has all the slides that you need, a lot better than what we saw today. And more important than that, it even has a note section below each slide to tell you what to put in each slide, and more importantly, what not to put in each slide so you don't make the mistakes like we saw today. All you have to do to get your free pitch deck template is click the link below this video and it's yours. I'd love to hear your thoughts on today's video too. So all you have to do that is put your comments in the comments column below today's video. And for more great content like this, all you have to do is just wait, and it's going to pop up right after this. Just click on the links and you can watch more great content from me. If you want to subscribe, then hit that subscribe button also, and you can subscribe to my videos and you'll get notified every time I release a new video. I'm Brett at brettjfox.com. Have a great, great day. Thanks a lot. Take care.